Get a Job in Tech, episode 206. Remote jobs with signing bonuses. I have to say, I was interested that this even exists anymore, but nevertheless, it does. So, focusing on the tech stuff, obviously, if you're, let's go on the list, right? So, you got a doctor, $100,000 signing bonus, and a lot of times some of that's taxed anyway, at 50%, 60%, whatever, depends on what area you live in. And so, audiologists, that's 25,000. Airline mechanics is 10,000, and nurses anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000. Now, for cybersecurity engineers, that's where it's at. $20,000 sign-on bonus for a job, just to have a job. So what I think what the reason they're doing that is because there is they don't want to pay the people more, like they don't want to pay them $300,000. So they say, okay, fine, we're going to give you 20,000. Could be more, you don't know, $1,000, and we're going to give you a signing bonus to offset the salary essentially. Now that's a one-time thing. That's a one-time payment, and it's again taxed, but that is probably what they're doing to entice people to work for them as a cybersecurity because they just need those. They need that skill set, and I remember hearing about people working in the 2000s, before the dot-com, before the dot-com, the dot-com. So they would get signing bonus. Some of them they'd get corporate housing. They would get cars from the like rental cars essentially from the company until they find their own. So you work for a company for a couple months. Meanwhile, they put you up in corporate housing. They give you like a sign-on bonus, and they give you a rental car. Now you got to imagine they must be making a lot of money to do that. So if you're making 20, 30, 40,000, 50,000, $100,000 a year, and they're giving you that type of amenities, I don't know if that happens anymore, but then the real value of your skill set it must be really high. They must be making 4 or 5 times on if they give you 100K and they give you all these amenities, they must be making if that's the what it is other than the signing bonus, then they must be making a lot of money. Now, have you heard about the Qualcomm and Intel? You've heard about that. They're going to merge. So Qualcomm is going to buy out Intel, according to what I hear about. We'll see. We'll see. Usually, if you hear about it in the on the internet or if you hear about it in the news, let's say, it's pretty close to being done. Now, what that's going to mean for the industry, basically, you're going to have so there's AMD, there's and Intel. Those are the two main players for chip manufacturing, essentially. So Qualcomm makes chips for cell phones mostly. Now, Intel makes chips for computers and other devices, mostly computers. And what that's going to mean is it's going to be a dominant market. And I think Intel is probably going to keep the name, probably. I would suspect they're going to keep the name. And then, so Qualcomm's going to just take over processes essentially of Intel. Now, Intel doesn't make their own chips, in case you didn't know that. What happens is a lot of vendors come in, like Applied Materials is one example. The other, I forget the other ones, but there's a bunch of companies. Shinko, they make the FOUP, the wafers that come into the device. So Shinko makes the device that takes the FOUP or the wafer thing that holds the wafers, a robot essentially. You have Brooks Automation. They make the robots for the tool itself that makes the chips. So a wafer is, you think of a wafer, like a wafer, you eat a wafer. So on the wafer, it's 300 millimeters. So on the wafer, there's 500 or so chips on the wafer. That represents computer chips essentially. So each one of those wafers, each one of those wafers, there's 25 wafers to a FOUP. So 25 times 500, roughly. The yield is sometimes higher, sometimes lower. Times two. So take 500 wafers times 25 times 2. There's 2 FOUPs to a plater or something that processes wafers. And they can do, in a production environment, it's nonstop 24/7. And they might plate, maybe process, maybe 20, 30, no, maybe 3 minutes, let's say they're going to plate. So 3 minutes is 20 an hour, let's say. 20 times, it's just a lot, right? So you have a lot of chips essentially. Now that's one tool, so you have many tools. But getting off track here, so Qualcomm will take over that if they in fact do acquire Intel. So what does that mean for you? So that means that when they make more wafers or more chips, right? Now you have more devices being more made, more devices being made, more routers, more switches, more phones, more computer devices essentially being made at a lower rate because now there's less competition, and now there's flooding the market, which now means that on every house or every street, let's say, you're going to have an IoT device, maybe. That's what it's after, really, the IoT device. You're going to have an IoT device, which is going to mean you're going to need more people programming it, more monitoring it, more configuring, let's say, for cybersecurity, because IoT devices really aren't. Nobody's really tried to compromise the IoT devices yet in a mass scale. But when that happens, they're going to need cybersecurity professionals to deal with that. So by you getting into the cybersecurity field early and before all these devices get on the market, you're going to get in early, and you're going to be a leader, or you're going to be considered like a OG, if you will, of cybersecurity when it's new. And then when it flourishes, you're going to be right there, cushy job, having an easy life. You've already gotten your sign-on bonus, and then sign-on bonuses will probably go away eventually when they have enough people. But if you want to help yourself out and you want to probably get an idea of what this looks like, so I invite you like if you want to know what jobs have signing bonuses, I invite you to go to Indeed.com and just search in the search bar. Just search for type in remote jobs with signing bonuses. That's what you put in there, and then leave the city and state blank, and you're going to see like relevant jobs with sign-on bonus. Some are a lot, some are not, but you can see a list of jobs in Indeed. Some are IT, some are not, but that's how you can get ahead of all of this. And the more you do it, every day you do this, you're going to see a pattern, and you're going to see how you can market yourself, and eventually you're going to see how does this whole thing work? What jobs usually demand? What's the sign-on bonus? That way, when you go for a job interview, you'll know what to ask for, if you can ask for a sign-on bonus or not. Thanks, Salt. We'll see you in the next one.